Data. Oh no, don't be dropping frames. It might be because I have that up. Oops, not what I wanted to do. Oops. Hi, Roxanne, how are you? Just a second. Let people start rolling in, and then we'll be talking about the winter storm. Oh, that's right. I have that site muted. So if you guys can hear me, just give me a quick shout. Hi, Mikey. We'll go over that here shortly. Hi, Josh. There it is. Share. Must share. Must share. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful Saturday. I almost forgot which day it is. No sound? What? You guys have no sound? Do you really have no sound? I hear sound. You guys are trying to scare me. Share. There we go. Okay. Yeah, welcome everybody. Hopefully you've had a wonderful Saturday. Got out, enjoyed the weather because it was actually really nice. We are going to go down and break down this winter storm. I have kind of broken it down into 3 different phases for you. We'll go through each phase of really the beginning late tonight through Sunday at noon, and then through the day Sunday, and then Monday. And we'll also break down the timeline. We'll break down what we know for sure. We'll also kind of break down, not kind of break down. We will break down what we're a little more uncertain of at this point, and also why we're uncertain of it, but you'll also understand why things look a little bit different with every forecast you've probably been seeing. And it's all because of one thing. It's the location and if I should say, warm air works its way north. That kind of throws a wrench in everything. So we're going to break that down for you guys. Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm sick of snow. How about you? Yeah, I can dig that. Hold on just a second, everybody. I'm going to mute you real quick. The phone's ringing. Okay, sorry. School closings are coming in. So I'll actually give you guys those right off the rip. So we have 4 schools closed right now. Whitefish Township Community Schools are closed Monday. Rudyard area schools are closed Monday. Three Lakes Academy is closed Monday. And then Brimley Schools just called, and they are closed Monday as well. You can find all of those on our website as we go through. I've also put on them for the day, 3/16, they're closed because we are 2 days away from Monday. So it was just like closed. Many might not know when. So welcome everybody. All right, let's jump into this, kind of break this down first, and then at the end we'll have questions if you have any. I'll try to catch up with chat. If I miss you right now, I'm sorry, but thank you guys for all being here. I can't see what everyone is saying. Anyone who's asking for snow totals or ice or anything like that, you'll see that here through the forecast, what I'm presenting to you guys, and we'll break it all down at the end so you guys can see that as well. So don't worry. We'll answer all questions as we head through the forecast. Early April Fools? I wish it was, but that is not the case. It'd also be a terrible joke to play, wouldn't it? So here's a look at the winter storm timeline. So the winter storm timeline starts tonight around 11 o'clock. The lower peninsula will start seeing wet, heavy snow, and it will fall through the night into 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning for most areas. So you're going to have an initial burst of really about 3 to 6 inches of snow for most of the lower peninsula by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's going to be a wet, heavy snow, much like what we had for yesterday's Clipper system that worked its way through. And then as we travel through Sunday morning into Sunday afternoon, this is where the biggest question mark lies. Is the heavy snow slowly starts working its way a little bit farther north, and then areas start transitioning into a freezing rain or possibly just rain. Now the question is, how far north does that warmer air go? And if it doesn't go as far north as some models are just suggesting, it keeps very heavy snow for you. But if it goes farther north, it takes away a lot of that snow, but then presents itself as freezing rain, ice accumulation. So that is where our question mark lies for Sunday. Do you see wet, heavy snow for a good chunk of the northern lower, or do you see freezing rain and ice accumulation? We'll break that down. Sunday night and Monday, we have extremely heavy snow, freezing rain, and wind gusts nearing 60 miles per hour. And then Monday, it is extremely gusty winds, falling temperatures, and lake effect snow, mainly for the western half of the lower peninsula and eastern UP. So let's take a look at where the system is right now and what it looks like, because it's still quite a ways away. So that low pressure system over in Nebraska, that is the system. It is currently diving out of the Rockies and sinking south, grabbing moisture from the Gulf. And as it continues to grab that moisture, it'll start to strengthen and then slowly work its way to the northeast. That will be working its way in over Michigan during the day Sunday and then exiting during the day Monday. So we're still a ways away. So we're going to see the outskirts of this system as early as 11 o'clock tonight. Now, a lot of questions have been surrounding this, your advisories, your alerts. I'm going to have to put you guys on pause just a second. I lied. They hung up. I'm double dutying. I'm taking school closings and giving you guys a forecast. So here are the latest alerts and warnings. A lot of you have questions about the advisories, and we'll break that down as well, because there are some things to the advisories that you have to pay close attention to. First up, blizzard warnings. Luce, Western, Central Chippewa County, and Mackinac counties all have blizzard warnings until 8 a.m. Tuesday. What you can see here is 1 to 3 feet of snow and wind gusts possibly upwards of 60 miles per hour. So that's just pretty plain Jane for you. Heavy snow, extremely gusty winds. Southeastern portions of Chippewa County, so Drummond Island, Detour Village, you could be looking, yes, at a lot of snow, but you could also be looking at possibly a 1/4 inch of ice. You're in a winter storm warning. So Mackinac Island, Boblo Island, Beaver Island, surrounding islands there, as well as Emmett, Sheboygan, Presqu'île, Charlevoix, Otsego, Antrim, and Leelanau counties, you all have winter storm warnings. In there is a pretty wide range of snow ranges, but it's right around 9 to 18 inches for these areas. And again, they'll vary, because we'll show you why here in a second. But winter storm warnings because of very wet, heavy snow, the possibility of a 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice accumulation, as well as the extremely gusty winds. Now, the rest of the counties in the northern lower in the winter weather advisory: Montmorency, Alpena, M72 corridor, and M55 corridor. This is the biggest question mark area, because yes, you'll have an initial burst of snow, but do you transition into freezing rain or just plain old rain? That will cut back on your snow. All of these advisories go until 2 p.m. tomorrow. So what that means is, yes, you get the initial burst of snow, and then they'll reassess what's happening, whether the warm air makes it farther north or not, and then they can issue something else for Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and Monday. Because I guarantee you, you will definitely see another advisory at least for Monday. So the advisory is kind of a safe play to re-up if the warm air doesn't get as far north, or if it does get farther north, you're already in the clear with the advisory. So we'll show you the snow, we'll show you the winds, we'll show you the ice, we'll show you what we're expecting with this system. starting with phase one. Phase one, this starts tonight at 11 o'clock to about noon tomorrow. Wet, heavy snow for the lower peninsula. A quick burst of about 3 to 6 for most. Some areas could see 4 to 8 by noon tomorrow. Gusty winds, upwards of 40 to 50 miles per hour. And also extremely limited visibilities. Just a second. Phone call. Sorry, another school closing. JK Bow Wedding in Sault Ste. Marie is closed on Monday as well. There you go. Okay, so phase one. The phone's continuing to ring. I know Eastern UP's getting ready to shut everything down on Monday. All right, let's take a look first at future view. So starting at 11 o'clock tonight and going through noon tomorrow. You can see that initial burst of very wet and heavy snow. This isn't just reflectivity. This is also the intensity rate of snow. So you can see back over there in Wisconsin, see that extremely light color? That is very, very heavy snow. So we will see wet, heavy snow from 11 o'clock tonight until about noon tomorrow for the lower peninsula. Eastern UP, you don't get in on the wet and heavy snow until about noon tomorrow, widespread. But you can see at noon, it is very heavy there for northern lower, all the way down to M55. But notice the warm air. The warm air is slowly starting to creep in as early as noon tomorrow. So central lower, northern lower, all the way up to the straits tomorrow morning, you will have wet, heavy snow. And then central lower, you'll start transitioning to rain. I don't foresee central lower having many issues with this storm system. The central lower counties, I see you having an initial burst of 3 to 6 inches of snow, and then very little after that. Northern lower, Eastern UP is going to be the big issue areas. That is where things could vary just a little bit, and we'll get into that here in just a second. But through tomorrow morning, very wet, heavy snow. An initial burst of very wet, heavy snow, winds picking up, very little visibility. So here's a look at the snowfall tonight through noon tomorrow. You can see a widespread 3 to 6, even close to 4 to 8 there for areas of Benzie, Leelanau, Grand Traverse. While the UP by noon tomorrow is looking at about 1 to 3. So this is the first phase of the storm. The winds, they're starting to pick up. Seeing gusts upwards of 20 to 40 miles per hour through Sunday morning, and then picking up closer to about 50 by noon Sunday. Another school. Please hold. Okay, sorry. Pickford is also now closed for Monday. I gotta make sure I get these in. Don't let me forget. Okay, phase two. So the phase one is gonna be initial bursts of wet, heavy snow from 11. The phone won't stop. I started streaming and the phone just goes off. So 11 p.m. tonight through noon tomorrow. Initial bursts of wet, heavy snow, 3 to 6 for most areas across northern Michigan, except for the UP. Winds start to pick up. Visibilities will be greatly reduced. So if you had plans of going to church tomorrow morning, if you had plans of taking grandma to brunch tomorrow morning, you might want to reconsider. If anybody had plans of traveling up from downstate, might say, probably not this weekend. It's not going to be the worst part of the storm, but it's also not going to be great. Phase two of winter storm. The heavy snow starts working its way farther north. So more tip of the mitt, more straits, eastern UP. So Eastern UP, this is when you start getting into the heavy snow and it doesn't stop. Areas of the lower peninsula slowly start transitioning to freezing rain and rain. Now, the problem, and this is the biggest question mark in my phases of the storm, is where does the warmer air end up? Right now, some models have that warmer air ending up all the way at the straits. Some models have that warmer air ending in the central lower. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I know it's easy to say somewhere in the middle, but everything I've been looking at keeps the upper atmosphere around 0 and temperatures hovering right around 30 on a line from Manistee to about Rogers City. So we'll break that down a little bit more here in just a second. I'm sorry, why did that not unmute? I apologize. I thought I unmuted it. So did you guys miss the phase thing that I was just talking about? I apologize if you did. See, this is the problem with me trying to answer phone calls and talk to you guys. Okay. So that light line up top, that is intense snow. That is 2-3 inches of snow an hour. Areas down towards Gaylord, Traverse City, as well as over to Alpena, that is the setup of freezing rain, sleet. Areas down towards Manistee, Cadillac, Grayling, that is also more of a freezing rain setup. So that cuts back on your snow totals for those areas, but it also starts giving us ice accumulations. Areas down in the central lower, you're seeing the possibility of severe thunderstorms. This has just kind of popped its ugly head here over the last 24 hours, but there is a possibility of strong to severe storms down towards the M20 and M46 corridors. Something new to add to this already. So the low pressure system is working its way slowly farther north. I see why it was muted. I tried to advance my graphics and it muted. Okay. So, take a look at the snowfall for the second phase of snowfall. So the second wave of snowfall is going to be, again, several inches where we were talking about yesterday for areas closer to Manistee, Traverse City, Gaylord, Rogers City, Detour Village, through the straits, where I showed you that intense band of snow. That is where you're going to be looking at the heavier snow totals through Sunday. Where I am expecting less snow, but still a decent amount of snow, is down towards Manistee, Cadillac, Houghton Lake, Grayling, Alpena areas. I think that is going to be in the spot where you could vary. Again, it's all going to depend on that warmer air, but I think that is going to be the spot where you can be looking at possibly more around 6 to 9 inches of snow in Cadillac, possibly more around a foot in Grayling. Again, it's all going to depend on when you switch over to freezing rain and how long you stay on freezing rain. So here's a look at the ice accumulations that we're looking at for the second phase of the storm. The second phase of the storm will start the freezing rain process for areas. So the ice zone in pink here, the outskirts area could see a glaze to 1/10 of an inch of ice. The max impact zones could see around 1/2 an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice. So Traverse City, Cadillac, areas up towards Fife Lake, Kalkaska, Grayling, Gaylord, areas up into spots like Onaway, you could be looking at possibly half an inch of ice, maybe close to 3/4 of an inch of ice. And here's a look at the ice accumulation through the day Sunday. So Sunday afternoon, you slowly start accumulating some ice. And then Sunday evening through early Monday morning is when you accumulate the majority of the ice. Sunday evening through Monday morning will be the worst part of this storm system. So I'll say that again. Sunday evening through early Monday morning will be the worst part of this system for us. Because that's when we're seeing extremely gusty winds, extremely heavy snow for areas of the UP, tip of the mitt, but also we're accumulating possibly 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice for some spots of the northern lower, and possibly a little bit of ice in the central lower. Here are the winds through the day Sunday. Beaver Island, 52 miles per hour. Areas, the UP, tip of the mitt, Lake Michigan shoreline, you're seeing gusts of 40, 50 miles per hour. Mix that in with your 1-2 feet of snow, you could be looking at extremely big snow drifts. I'm just going to tell this right now in the UP, don't expect to go anywhere. With the roads, the snow, the winds, it is just not going to be drivable at all. One, you won't be able to see a thing. Two, the drifts are going to be several feet high. It's just not going to be an easy thing. Severe weather outlook. Again, like I mentioned earlier, this is new. So Sunday evening through Sunday night, you're looking at a very slight risk, very small risk of stronger storms, maybe an isolated severe storm from M55 south towards M20. But Mount Pleasant, areas towards Shepherd south, they could be looking at some damaging winds, hail, heavy rain with some thunderstorms. So that would not be ideal. Downstate could be dealing with bigger storms, something we'll have to watch closely. So that is something we'll watch very closely. All right, to the last phase of this storm. Very gusty winds, falling temperatures. You're going to go from the 20s, 30s, 40s down into the single digits and teens by Monday evening. So not to mention the gusty winds, but wind chills are going to be well below zero for the majority of Michigan through the day Monday. You'll have heavy lake effect snow and blowing snow, reducing your visibilities, but also continuing to possibly give you ground blizzard conditions. Ground blizzard conditions, if you've ever heard the term, is essentially the loose snow on the ground. When the wind is so strong, it blows it around, reducing visibilities to essentially zero. So ground blizzard conditions will be what we watch out for through the day Monday. Not to mention some additional snowfall. So there's future view going through the day Monday. You can see we're on the backside of that low Monday afternoon, evening. That's when the winds will be at their strongest. And the snow, very light, is just meaning it's less intense because there's less moisture. So lake effect snow, as we all know, is much drier, much fluffier. But that is what's denoted here in that lighter blue. So we'll see quite a bit of snow with gusty winds through the day Monday. So let's add the rest of the snow into the future snowfall. So there's a look at the numbers for the areas. Now, this doesn't necessarily account for ice in some spots, but you can see many spots up there in the UP close to 2 feet, maybe even close to 3 feet, while areas down the tip of the mitt, western half of the northern lower, you can see close to a foot, maybe close to 18 inches of snow. And then you see the extremely sharp cutoff from a foot of snow down to more like half a foot of snow. And that's the zone, again, that we're watching closely that could be more freezing rain. This is what we've been talking about the last few days, when that can vary 50 miles, 25 miles, and you could end up with a foot of snow rather than 6 inches of snow. So there's going to be a little bit of variation that we're going to have to watch closely as we get closer to Sunday afternoon. Again, if the warmer air goes farther north, that means you see less snow. If the warmer air doesn't get far north, you see way more snow. So if you don't want ice, let's hope that warmer air stays farther south. Here's a look at the final ice accumulation numbers by the end of Monday. Some areas like Manistee, Cadillac, Grayling, Gaylord, areas up towards Atlanta, Rogers City, could be looking at 1/4 of an inch to almost 3/4 of an inch of ice accumulation. Now, the question I have been getting a lot from many people is, will this be like Gaylord and the northeast corner of the Lower Peninsula last year? No, this is nothing like the ice storm that we had last year, because that was about 3-4 inches of ice. Now, I'm not saying we won't have a ton of power outages, because we will. But you have to remember, 3 to 4 inches of ice is very different than 1/2 an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice. Yes, it still weighs a lot. Yes, the winds are going to be whipping, but this is not going to be anything like last year. Doesn't mean prepare differently. It just means we will not be looking at a month of no power for some areas, or the majority of the area. I'm definitely expecting a lot of power outages, but I'm not expecting anything like what we saw last year. Here's a look at the winds on the last part of the day. So going through Monday, you can see those winds ramp up to about mid-30s, mid-40 mile per hour mark for good chunks of Monday. 50s for areas, 50 mile per hour gusts up in the UP. But this is where we start seeing temperatures fall. Wind chills will be below 0. And you definitely do not want to get stuck in conditions like this. So here's a look at our snowfall totals. And I will explain what we have and why we have it. So models, when you look at them, are mainly raw data, but there's a few things models don't take into account. And that's the same that goes for weather apps. So if you saw a weather app and you're saying the weather app isn't telling me a whole lot, it's saying this, right? It's saying less snow, not a whole lot going on for my area. Weather apps take raw data, and that's all they give you. They don't take or interpret things that might be different from that raw data or that we're seeing down the road. So with that being said, we are saying 25 inches plus for the majority of the UP. The exceptions are going to be Detour Village, Drummond Island, because I think you guys will see more icing, which will cut down on your snow totals. I think areas of Emmett, extreme portions towards Charlevoix, Leelanau County, will also see upwards of 24 inches of snow. Traverse City, Cadillac, Gaylord, Grayling, Mayo, Rogers City, you are going to be the variation zone. And I have that right here, if it wants to load up. There you go. This is the variation zone. This is where I have the most question marks. That red oval. Because if the warmer air goes farther north, your snow totals are cut way down, but you're accumulating ice. If that warmer air is farther south, you have way more snow, less ice, which I think we can all agree would be way better. But as of right now, what you're seeing is more so 6 to 9, initial bursts of 6, possibly a few more inches, but also close to 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of ice towards Cadillac. Same for areas towards Manistee and Wellston. But a degree or two difference could mean way more snow, less ice. Areas towards Grayling, areas up towards Atlanta, Rogers City, I think you see that initial burst of 6-7 inches of snow, and then you see a little bit more ice. Could be upwards of 1/2 an inch of ice, which cuts way down on your snow totals, but then you have ice to deal with. Central lower, as well as areas up towards Mayo, areas over towards Alpena, I don't think you see a ton of snow because you're going to be in the warmer sector. So you see the initial burst of snow tonight, tomorrow morning, and then you see the chance for some stronger storms Sunday night, especially down the central lower, but you don't return back to snow until later Monday, and it'll be much lighter when it comes to accumulations for those areas. So again, our biggest question mark is still the temperature variations in that oval, in that area, the northwest corner of the Lower Peninsula. Again, just a matter of a degree or two could change the game for you, which is kind of hard to fathom, that only a degree or two difference in these areas could mean either significant ice or significant snow, but that's the way that it's currently breaking down. That's how dynamic this low pressure system is as it works its way to the northeast. So that is what I currently have for this winter storm. And we can also look at some of the products that the National Weather Service has gone ahead and put out and what they're looking at. We'll take you first to their discussion. This is where their meteorologists put out what they're seeing and what they think is going to happen. And I just want to preface this with every meteorologist knows what they're doing. But I could not agree more with a sentence that they put in here. It says, "What follows is nothing more than a best educated guess." Go ahead and laugh if you want to, but to be completely honest, there's aspects to this storm system that I have never seen before in my 18 years of forecasting. Easily the most complicated and less confident portion of the forecast area, northern lower. Yeah. That is where our biggest concern is. And it's all breaking down to variables in the atmosphere and just breaking down to temperatures. But this is what they've come to a little more of an agreement on, is basically what I just broke down for you guys. They're seeing a little more ice accumulation a little bit farther north, a little more snow for areas up in the UP. Again, their biggest question mark, though, is going to be the ice and the changeover. And again, that continues to be my struggle. Where is this going to change over? And this kind of breaks down the phases. 2 a.m. Sunday, majority of the lower peninsula is getting blasted with heavier snow. 2 p.m. Sunday, you can see there's a little bit of changeover. And then that changeover starts to stretch from Cadillac, Gaylord up towards Rogers City. And then we have possibly a little lull in the system before we get hammered by winds and snow on the backside. And here is some of the models I wanted to show you guys as we are getting updates with it, just to see if there's any new information. But they're all starting to agree with basically what I showed you. Initial bursts of snow into the freezing rain, sleet, very heavy snow up in the UP, possibility of some stronger storms in the central lower. And then we get to the backside, and it is extremely gusty winds and heavier snow. And that is the GFS, which is an American model. I always prefer to look at the Euro, but it shows basically the identical thing. With the exception, maybe the Lake Michigan shoreline pulls more snow. But that is pretty much on par with what everything else is said. The German model, again, pretty much the same as what we've seen in the other ones. The Canadian model, pretty much the exact same as well. So the models are starting to line up. Now the question is going to be, where's the transition zone? Because the models don't exactly tell you in great detail where the transition zone is. So there you go. I hope that answered some questions. I hope that kind of made it a little bit more clear. But this is where we can discuss. If you have questions, if you guys have want more details, this is where you guys can ask, and we'll get through the comments and discuss what might be on your mind about the storm system. Julie, when will you get a jet stream change? Next Thursday, Friday, we'll have a brief warm up. But really moving forward, you're definitely going to see the jet stream slowly start to back up. We'll definitely be out of the La Nina cold pattern here shortly. Charlevoix total. Again, Charlevoix is going to be very bouncy, backy, and forthy until probably just a few hours before the system. But Charlevoix will probably have close to 6-7 inches of initial snow burst, Frank, and then you'll be looking at the possibility of another 12 to 14, dependent on the warmer air. Of course, Austin. I hope you're well, man. Good to see you. Yes, it'll live here on the 910 Facebook page until I think 30 days. I think they get rid of your live videos. So it'll be here. Heather, I didn't see the name at first. Good to see you. What are you thinking for Reed City? I think Reed City will see an initial burst of 3 to 6 inches of snow and then very little after that. I think you guys will be more rain. There's a possibility you could have a stronger thunderstorm. We'll have to see if you get any ice. I don't think you'll see much ice at all in Reed City. I think that again will be mainly to the north of you. I think Reed City will be very close to the changeover line. How often will you have updates? That's a great question. I will be having updates for you guys here going through the next 36 hours. I will be here this evening. I'll be live on TV at 11 o'clock to break this down even more for you guys. Half hour of weather at 11. And then tomorrow, I will be in doing more updates in the morning, noon, afternoon, evening. We don't have a 6 again tomorrow, but we will be live here again. And then I'll be live at 11. But tomorrow, obviously, the system will be going on. So we'll be looking at more of what is actually happening, and we'll have more live updates for you. And then Monday, Haley will be in the morning to bring you the latest updates. Obviously, we'll also have all the school closings up, as we have, I think, 6, 7 already. But we'll have everything to keep you guys notified of what's going on here on socials. But we'll also do our best as we get on TV as well. 93 Dodge just can't handle this weather. Yes, I am currently waiting to put in, I think, 3 or 4 that I got. But I think there's 3 already up there. Um, the reason that I forgot to unmute myself a few times is we have phone calls coming in right now, and I'm the only one at the station currently. How much snow is Jackson, Michigan getting? Very little. Very, very, very little. If any at all. I don't even know if you guys will see snow from the initial burst. Mansalona totals could be around 12 to 18 inches depending on the switchover. At what time Sunday will the transition be clear? We'll have a really good idea come Sunday morning. Because then we'll start seeing where those temperatures are actually pushing their way north. Live data. You'll see it too. You'll be able to see if it's advancing north rather quickly or not. Just look at your surface temperatures too, because if your surface temperatures are above freezing, obviously that's not going to be snow. But what we can be able to see is the atmospheric temperatures. And if those are warm aloft above you, more than likely you're going to see freezing rain if you're below freezing. Because what's happening is that warmer air aloft is taking those ice crystals and changing them to rain. And then as that rain's falling through the atmosphere into the surface, it doesn't have time to change back to snow. So it falls as freezing rain or sleet. And that in turn gives you ice accumulations. Elmira, just west of Gaylord, sounds like the unknown area. You guys are kind of smack dab in that area, yeah. But what I can tell you is be prepared for significant snow or possibly a good amount of ice. And the reason I say that is because you're going to see that warmer air kind of end if it goes north towards Elmira, which could be freezing rain. If it doesn't get up to you, it's going to be significant snow. You could be upwards of 18 inches of snow, possibly more. But in Elmira, the other thing you have to worry about too is winds, right? Up that way, you start getting into those open areas and blowing and drifting snow. Clare County, you're looking at initial burst of 3, possibly 4 inches of snow. Excuse me, I think I'm getting sick. The initial burst of 3 to 4 inches of snow, and then change over to mainly rain as you head through Sunday. Mayo, Rose City. Mayo and Rose City, you'll see an initial burst of 3 to 6 inches of snow, and then very little snow after that. I do believe you guys will be looking at very small ice chances, but it should be mainly to your north, and you should be in the warmer sector for just rain for a good chunk. How much is Lake City going to get? Dependent on the warmer air. Christopher, you could be looking at initial burst of 6-7 inches of snow by Sunday morning. And then, depending on the freeze line, you could be looking at ice accumulations in Lake City around half an inch. But if you don't get the warmer line, it'll be a lot more snow and less ice. Yeah. Wind can definitely impact a lot of things. And that's a big problem, right? Especially in northern Michigan. We have a lot of trees. We have a lot of power lines that just happen to be around those trees. And anything weighing those trees down could definitely snap with wind and take those power lines out. So definitely be extremely careful. But at the same time, if you can, just don't be moving Sunday and Monday. And if you lose power, be ready for it, right? We didn't really go over the things of having, if you lose power, have ways of charging a cell phone. Make sure your devices are charged up prior to the storm moving in. Make sure you have your favorite weather app on your phone, Doppler 910 weather app. Make sure you have Zeem on your phone as well. Zeem is an app where you can watch 9 and 10 like you watch it on your TV. You can do that on your phone. It's Zeem, Zeam. So that way, if you lose power, you can still watch 9 and 10 on your phone for the latest updates. Yeah, you can ask a question. What can I expect in Houghton Lake? Initial bursts of around 6 inches of snow by Sunday morning, and then a changeover to possibly a little bit of ice for you in Houghton Lake. But again, you might switch to a little bit of rain Sunday afternoon, but you'll eventually switch back to snow going into Monday. You'll probably end up with somewhere in the realm of 8 inches of snow in Houghton Lake. Ludington, much windier here. Ludington will definitely be very windy tomorrow. It'll be more of a northwest wind on Monday, but yeah, your wind gusts could be upwards of 50, 55 miles per hour closer to the lake. So definitely something to watch out for. Yes, we'll definitely have many updates, Bradley. Alpena area with 1 inch of projected rainfall. It's possible. Again, all going to depend on the warmer sector. I definitely think Alpena will have a chunk of rain, but that will also cut down on the snow amounts you see. Harrison to Cadillac, snow and ice, or just snow? You'll see snow to begin with, and then you'll see ice, and then you'll go back to snow, especially up towards Cadillac. Harrison, you'll probably see the changeover zone somewhere along 131 in between Harrison and Cadillac. To be honest with you, it'll probably be like the Tustin area, northern Osceola County. But Harrison will probably, Harrison will get initial bursts of snow. Everyone will get an initial burst of snow tonight and tomorrow morning. Harrison will probably change over to more of a rain tomorrow afternoon, evening, and then switch back to snow by Monday. Baldwin totals. Baldwin is going to be very much like Wellston, Cadillac. I think Baldwin will be lower total-wise. I think you guys are a little bit too far south. Baldwin, I think, will be more around 3 to 6 for an initial burst of snow. So by Sunday morning, 3 to 6, but then very little on the backside because you'll have rain more than likely Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. But you could have a little bit of ice in there as well. Again, it's going to vary on the temperatures for Baldwin, but not much snow. I think you'll have a little bit of ice, though, to go along with it. What about Oscoda, Lake Huron? Oscoda, I don't think you're going to have much of anything going on. So I have friends in Oscoda, and they actually saw quite a bit of, well, a good chunk of snow from the Clipper system. But with this system, you might see around an inch or two initial bursts tonight into tomorrow morning, but then it should be rain, and it should be rain through at least Monday morning. And then on the backside, it'll be windy for you, but very little snow. So I don't see more than maybe an inch or two in Oscoda. The beauty of being on the Lake Huron side for this system. Central Lake, Antrim. So Central Lake, again, is going to vary, but I definitely could see you guys getting 12 to 18 inches of snow. Again, initial burst of snow around 6-7 inches, and then we'll see where the warmer air is, but you could transition to a little bit of freezing rain. If you do get that freezing rain, and if you get prolonged freezing rain, that is going to cut down on your snow totals. But regardless, you'll definitely see the lake effect on the backside, and you could end up with right around a foot of snow. If you don't get the freezing rain, you'll probably end up with an additional 6 inches, around 18 inches. And I guess I really didn't think you guys would have this many questions. I appreciate you guys asking. Yeah, I didn't expect all these questions. Where are we at? 45 minutes? We'll go to 7. How about Wolverine? Wolverine will definitely get smacked initially with snow. I think you guys will end up total wise around 12 to 18 inches of snow. Could be a little bit more. Again, all dependent on the where that warmer air is going to be aloft in the atmosphere. Hillman, about the exact same. Hillman's going to be a little bit closer to the changeover zone. So the farther east you guys get, you're going to be more in the warm sector. So those areas closer to the Lake Huron side are definitely going to be more in the warmer sector than the east side. So if you're over towards Hillman, you're down towards Mayo, West Branch, cutting back towards Clare, central lower counties, you're going to have the initial wave of snow in the morning, and then you're going to see the warmer sector slowly push its way north as that low is moving in. And that will keep you snow total wise down as long as that warmer air goes north. If that warmer air doesn't go north, then you're just seeing more snow. How much snow for Newberry? 3 feet possibly. Yeah, that one's... I never thought I'd say that in my life. How much snow from a storm? 3 to 4 feet. But yes, Luce, Newberry, Western Chip, Central Chip, Mackinac could definitely see feet of snow, not inches, feet. Everett ice storm warning? I don't think you'll see ice in Everett. If you do, very little. Be mainly rain in Everett. Hi, Jennifer. Lake City will be very similar to Cadillac and Houghton Lake. Initial bursts of snow. Change it over to freezing rain, and then possibly snow, depending on the warm line. But regardless, you'll either have significant snow or possibly a good amount of ice, and then back into lake effect snow. Do you expect roads to be passable Tuesday morning in TC? I think Tuesday morning is probably a good bet that a lot of roads will be passable again. Yes. I definitely think a lot of roads will not be passable Monday, though. Because you have to remember, with road crews and the amount of snow that's going to be falling, all they're trying to do is keep the main arteries open, right? And, I mean, they're going to be busting their butts to keep roads way open. And it's not going to be easy for them. One, hats off to any crews that are going to be out in this. But yeah, I don't expect roads to be very passable for Sunday, Monday for a lot of areas, especially north. What time is the next model update? I believe I'm getting a few in as we speak. They kind of are all over the map. But 0Z should be updating here for 18Z for the rest of this evening, and then we'll get 0Z by 9-10 o'clock, and that should have a good chunk of more information. 18Z is a little bit rough. 18Z and 6Z are like incomplete runs almost. They don't nearly go out as far, and there's a little bit of data that's wonkier. 0Z and 12Z are the better runs, and they should be out here. 0Z should be out here later this evening. Hi, Christy. As of right now, you'll see an initial burst of 3 to 6 in Cadillac, possibly 7. But you'll have that initial burst of snow and then possibly changing over to freezing rain. Again, all dependent on the warmer air. But with that change over to freezing rain, you could have half an inch of freezing rain accumulation and then back into snow on Monday. But total wise, should be around a foot in Cadillac. 9 to 12 inches is what I'm seeing for Cadillac at the moment. Will lake effect along the Lake Michigan shoreline have? Oh no, I missed it. Man, I'm sorry I'm missing all your messages. We have so many people. Petoskey could definitely see upwards of 18 to 20 inches of snow, maybe even 24. Again, dependent on the warm air aloft. Petoskey, Charlevoix, Traverse City, Leelanau County are my biggest question marks. Because if you don't warm up, you're just going to get pelted with heavy snow. Those areas that are closest to the changeover line is where you're going to see the heaviest of the snow. So where the front is or where that warmer air is, right, that's switching over to rain. Where it's switching back over to snow is a lot of wet, heavy snow. And that is where you see usually the most intense line. And the most intense line right now is jumping between a line of Traverse City to Petoskey to just about 25 miles offshore. That is the area where you could see intense snow to maybe a little bit of freezing rain. That is my biggest question mark right now. Because if Petoskey, Traverse City, Charlevoix, if you warm up, it's going to be more of freezing rain. But if you don't warm up, it's just going to be a line of heavy snow that doesn't change. So that's my biggest question mark right now too, is those areas. But if you stay as snow, it could be an easy 2 feet for those areas. If you don't stay as snow, it could be more around a foot to 15 inches and maybe quarter to half an inch of ice. So I hate to be that varying for locations, but that's still the question that we have. That is the uncertainty. Do you think Sheboygan will have more snow or rain? I think you'll have more snow. I think Sheboygan up to the Straits, Eastern UP, Lake Michigan shoreline will have more snow. I don't think you get in the warm air. Hope the roads on early morning 18th should be okay. Yeah, they should be better by then, for sure. For sure. Snowbird, Mississippi. From Manistee, how bad will it be? Manistee is going to have initial bursts of snow, but I think Manistee is also going to be the battle zone. They could bounce back and forth between mix snow, mix snow, mix snow, rain, mix snow. Manistee will be one of those wishy-washy places, unfortunately. But I think you'll probably end up with somewhere in the realm of 6 to 9 inches of snow in Manistee. Ludington, snow, ice, or rain? I think it'll be snow and then rain for Ludington. We'll have to see just how close the low gets to you in Ludington. Ice for Bear Lake. Yeah, I could see Bear Lake, Manistee areas getting close to a tenth of an inch to quarter of an inch of ice. We'll have to see where the warm air gets to. But again, closer to the Lake Michigan shoreline, closer to that low, you start cutting off the freezing rain accumulation. What about schools on Tuesday in TC? I don't know about schools. If I had to make a bet, I don't even know if I want to do that. I would definitely bet, or I would definitely say many schools will also be closed Tuesday, but I think that will be more up closer or where those areas that have high snow totals. Traverse City could be that area. But also, if you get half an inch of ice, I can't imagine roads get any nicer Tuesday. It's going to be like 14 degrees on Tuesday. Can't really salt ice in 14 degrees. You can, it just won't really work out well. Yes, Ruth. Pellston and Max City will be hit pretty hard. Rapid City, Jenny, Rapid City could definitely see quite a bit of snow. Rapid City, Leelanau County, right? Am I wrong on that? I could be wrong. I'm sorry if I've misplaced it. I guess I could always Google it too. Is that Leelanau County? Kalkaska County. I apologize. Kalkaska County, yes, definitely could have quite a bit of snow. Again, it's going to depend on the warm line, especially in Kalkaska County. Will the ice be as bad as last year's snowstorm or ice storm? No. We will not have a repeat of the ice storm. But I'm not saying we won't have a lot of power outages because I'm expecting a ton of power outages. But no, the ice will not be as bad as the ice storm last year. Some are saying it's going to be like the storm of 78. Do you think that's true? For the UP, yes. Yes. For everyone, no. Key things about the blizzard of 78. We did not have the technology we have now. We did not have the means of plowing and getting things taken care of the way we do now. The blizzard of 78 was a 955 millibar low, which is the strongest low Michigan's ever seen. This one is going to be at best a 977. So the higher the number, the weaker the low. So 955 compared to 977. Yes, it's 22 millibars weaker, but 955 is a big low pressure system. The winds could be pretty intense, but when you talk feet of snow, like they saw with the blizzard of 78, yes, I think the UP could be like the blizzard of 78. But we have better technology and better ways of keeping things clear than we did in 78. Will we be able to rewatch this? Yes. It'll be on the 910 Facebook page and the 910 News YouTube channel. It'll be on the 910 News YouTube channel until the end of time or until someone deletes it. On Facebook, it'll be here for 30 days. They delete live streams after 30 days. UP starting snow and how much? You will see snow starting to fall in the UP around 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, noon tomorrow, and it won't stop until Tuesday morning. It will be very heavy. How much for St. Helen? That's Roscommon County, right? I apologize if I'm wrong on that. St. Helen will probably be around an initial burst of 6 inches of snow, maybe 7. And then you'll switch over to more of a freezing rain going towards Sunday evening. And then you might see a little bit of lake effect on the backside. I would say probably close to 6 to 9 inches of snow overall total system for St. Helen. Lewiston, ice or snow or both? Both. Wellston, we're going to see ice. Yes, you'll probably see a little bit of ice. How's it looking for Higgins Lake? Initial burst of snow tonight, tomorrow morning. Probably around 6 inches of snow. And then you will switch over to freezing rain, possibly a little bit of rain. I don't think you'll get rain, but probably a freezing rain, and then sleet, and then back to snow. I think Higgins Lake will probably end up with somewhere in the realm of 9 inches total, possibly upwards of a foot. Will Ludington see more ice or snow? You'll definitely see more snow. I'm surprised we haven't been upgraded from a winter weather advisory in Grand Traverse County. We explained that in our forecast. The reason that you have an advisory is they don't know where the warm air is going just yet. So with that being said, your advisories you have to pay close attention to. The advisories only go until 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So they're covering the initial burst of snow tonight and through tomorrow morning. And then they'll reassess tomorrow afternoon. So if that warmer air gets farther north, you probably won't have much other than maybe an advisory for some ice accumulation for tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. But if that warmer air doesn't get farther north, you're just going to be looking at heavy snow, and then they'll slap something else for that county. That's why the advisories are out there. It's kind of like the northern lower and close to US 10. It's kind of a way for them to be like, all right, this phase of the storm is an advisory. We'll update you once we see what the second phase is really going to do to slap something else on it. So that's why the advisory is out there for a good chunk of the northern lower. What's the criteria for a blizzard? Great question. So criteria for a blizzard is winds, I believe gusting No, I think it's sustained. Sustained winds of 35 miles per hour for a matter of a few hours and visibilities of 0. I believe that is blizzard criteria. I could be completely wrong. I know, I'm a weatherman. It is 35 miles per hour, winds in excess of 35 miles per hour, and visibilities of less than a quarter of a mile for at least 3 hours. So, yeah, I was pretty close. The problem is we don't get that very often here. We have more blizzard warnings right now than I think I've seen at one time for northern Michigan. Yes, that is a good point. Thank you to my lovely wife for pointing that out. Didn't even cross my mind. So I'm going to wrap it up here, guys, so I can get back to doing some things, answering phone calls, putting school closings together. But thank you for all being here. If you did not see your location, you can watch this back on the 910 News Facebook page or the 910 News YouTube channel, where it will live for a long time. You can look back at your location. You can look at the maps. You can look at the forecast that we had at the first half an hour of this video. And not to mention, we'll be live on the 910 News or on CBS 910's channel tonight on TV at 11 o'clock for a half hour to talk more about the storm system. We'll have updates on socials and on the website throughout this evening, throughout tomorrow morning, and then we'll have live updates throughout the day tomorrow, and then we'll be live again tomorrow night, and then Haley will be in Monday morning, and then we'll be having live updates with all our crew throughout the day Monday. But I appreciate you all being here. Be safe. Have a wonderful Saturday night. Remember, Sunday, Monday, if you don't have to go anywhere, please, please, please just kind of sit back and ride the storm out. It is not going to be a friendly one. But we'll have more updates. Thank you guys again for being here.